Okay. There we go. And we move the chat over to the other window. And it defaults back to top chat again, because of course it does. And we'll slide that down and set it back to friggin' live chat. All right. And there we go. Hooray. Happy Sunday, unless you're in Australia where it might be Monday. I'm not sure. But I hope you had a good holiday if you're into that kind of thing. Let's see here. John, greetings from Union County, Georgia. Had a great time with family, including over 3 hours modeling with my 11-year-old grandson. Hope your holiday time was enjoyable too. Nice. Sounds fun. Nick Butler, how you doing? Hello from Chile, Sussex, where the blessings of Nurgle have infected my head. Oh, that's no fun. I hope you get better soon. Good morning from Corpus Christi, where it's been in the mid-80s and ghastly humid for a week and a half. That sounds like a bad Xmas. But at least it'll be 50 tomorrow. That's good. It's just a little above freezing right now. It's kind of foggy. It's pretty gray out, and it's supposed to stay. It's supposed to be, highs above freezing and then start to head down, and then like actually on New Year's Day it's gonna go and be really low and then come back up again. So I don't just New Year's Day is gonna be cold, like cold, kind of. It's still like high of 7, which is it's as long as you don't hang out outside a lot, it's fine. Happy post Christmas from Erskine, Scotland. Working on some Kings of War champions. Nice. Good morning from Columbus, Ohio. I hope everyone enjoyed their holiday. Got to spend time with friends and family. Sim, how you doing? Molly, good morning from icy Canada. Dragonfire, morning from Quebec. How you doing? That blasted Samouflage. I don't know if I'm saying that properly, but if not, I've been not saying it properly for a good long time. Morning from Southern Ontario, flip-flopping, working on 3D printable jungle terrain and playing games as my brain won't engage. Nice. I've been 3D printing this weekend. I 3D printed. I backed a Kickstarter from Corvus Games Terrain, some cyberpunk stuff, and so I printed 2 parts of a building. I've also discovered that my printer, the Bamboo Lab A1, when you run out of filament, and then it will like send you a notice on your phone and say, hey, it stopped, you're out of filament, and then you put a new thing of filament in there, it just picks up where it left off and it just works. Like if you were watching Twitch with me, when I was streaming on Twitch on Friday, I showed like the bottom floor, and I'm like, I think this is the little area right here where it had to switch. There's like a slightly more protruding little striation than any of the other ones, but it's just really, you got to catch it in just the right light to see it. And I'm like, I know I can sand that down really easily. But what it's caused me to do is it's caused me to go back through a bunch of my old spindles and be like, well, this has got some left on it. Let's use that up. Like the one that printed yesterday, I think it's the produce of 3 different spindles, basically. Like, because I was like, if I put this one on, is like, oh, we ran out. I put another one on, it ran for a while, and it's like, oh, just before we left to go to some friends, to our Friendsmas festivities, it was like, oh, it ran out. So I ran downstairs quick and swapped it to another one. And that one, I was like, nah, I'm gonna get a message during the party, but I didn't. I got a message that it was finished, so it must have just made it. But it's nice to be able to use up those little extra spools and stuff like that. So I have the first floor and the second floor printed. Now I got to print the roof. I'll show you in a little bit what it looks like on the page so you can see some of the cool stuff. Anyway, that's what I was doing yesterday as far as terrain is concerned. I also painted some Arasaka models for some minis for Cyberpunk Red Combat Zone. Those are turning out cool too. I haven't shot pictures of them yet though. Let's see here. Good morning from Cleveland. While I paint some trench ghosts for Trench Crusade. Nice. Rod, good morning. Double dip. Good afternoon from Kent. Hope everyone has a good Christmas. Just got my trench Crusade Heretic Legion from my 3D printer friend, not named Dave. Well, not everybody's 3D printer friend is named Dave. And we'll begin assembly this week once I finish off the last 8 mechs I have. Wow. Fuangazi, how you doing? Morning from sleepy Washington. Yeah, well. Ralph, good morning. Good time of day from Clearwater, Florida. Excuse me. Good morning from Nescopeck, Pennsylvania. I've never heard of Nescopeck. That's fun. Morning from Brisbane. JP Taylor, morning. Good morning from overcast Jonesboro, Illinois. Hope you all have a good Christmas. Howdy from the cold French Alps. How you doing? VJ Morph, how you doing? At the club for another hour, just listening in. Hope everyone's at Christmas was awesome. Good afternoon from West Midlands. How you doing? Wayne. Good morning from Yukon, Oklahoma. Let me see here. Fudge Maker, Happy New Year from Wiesbaden, Germany. Probably Wiesbaden, isn't it? No, anyway. Morning from tropical Oklahoma. Whoa. Morning from foggy Milwaukee. Visibility of 200 feet. Yeah, it's not that foggy here, but it is a bit foggy. Like, it was foggy when we were coming home last night from our shindig, and I was like, I want to go outside and take pictures. I want to take some night shots with the fog, but it was like right around freezing, and I was also tired, and it was like, and I knew I had to get up early, and so I was like, well. So I'm looking forward to doing some night photography probably this spring. I haven't done night photography really too much, like kind of long exposure. I've done some photography at night, which is technically night photography, but I haven't done any like long exposure night photography in a minute. And now with my new camera, I definitely want to. So, but I also don't want it to be friggin' freezing outside. So I might wait till spring at least. Midlands, let's see here. Really appreciate the TMAs this year. Oh, good to hear, Nick. Followed up with Alex, 52 minis, lists as well. Yeah, I saw he did like a top 10 thing. Yep. Feeling 2026 will be a year where I get more solo TTRPG in, though. Okay, well, that's cool. There's a local shop downtown, game shop, that has like a whole section now of like indie and also solo RPGs. Like a pretty extensive section, which I was pretty surprised by. It's 1 a.m. in Brisbane. See, there you go. It's Monday. Happy New Year from Michigan. How you doing? Good morning from Orlando. Greetings from Omaha. 56 degrees yesterday, snowing like crazy. Now, it's supposed to snow here later, but we're only maybe going to get a couple inches, so nothing big. Good morning from Northern Ontario. How you doing? My most productive thing last week was making an online custom card creation tool for my own game. Just happens to also help with MTG layouts as well. Nice. Hello from Frosty Kiel, Germany. Checking in from South Ontario. Sounds like you got some wonderful weather. I mean, you know. Good morning from Richmond, Virginia. I'm working on creating a table full of modular hills using XPS foam. Nice. Following the Ultimate Modular Hills guide from the YouTube channel, 3D Games, Wargaming, and Terrain. Not sure if I'm familiar with that one. At least not by name. Maybe by visuals. Morning from snowy Minneapolis. How you doing? Printer sounds great. Stop making me want to get a 3D printer. If you like making terrain and maybe even some vehicles, then, man, I tell you, the A1, the Bamboo Lab A1 is a really, really, really nice printer for that. You don't need to ventilate it. You don't need a ton of space for it particularly. It's not particularly expensive. I wonder if it's on sale right now, because it's on sale sort of a lot. I mean, you know, not all the time, but like a decent amount of time. Products, Bamboo Lab A1. It is, oh goodness. currently $300. And I think that's just... So for $400, you get it with this external thing for doing color. I don't use that. So for $300, you get it. It just is this thing, and then you can you can buy just individual spindles or whatever of the filament and stuff like that. But it is technically, I guess it's $100 off according to them. I don't remember paying $400 for mine. I think, well, to be fair, I think I did pay $340. I think mine was $60 off when I got mine. So yeah, but it's a really nice printer. It does really good work. I've been really happy with it, and it is simple to use. Simple with a capital Imple. So just saying. Where are we now here? Oh, goodness gracious, everything moved. Wiesbaden, Brisbane, snowy Minneapolis. Afternoon from a chilly Puckle Church in the UK. I always enjoy saying Puckle Church. Working on some Twilight Kin Corsairs for 4th edition Kings of War. Interesting. Morning from Delaware. How you doing? Good morning from Toronto. Hope you're doing well, Uncle Adam. I hope I'm doing well as well. Didn't know the A1 could do that. I've been binning my scraps. Won't be doing that anymore. Yeah, like it just because I'll get like a thing on my phone. Because it's online, and it'll be like, hey, your filament ran out, and you're like, oh, okay, and then you can load a new thing, but you can just it, like I said, it will allow you to use like the leftover bits and stuff, and it works out pretty well. The only thing I could tell is, like I said, there was like a little bit of a line. You get the striations and stuff, and the striations are pretty, especially depending on what angle the thing's at. The striations are barely visible anyway, lately. And but I see like one line where it's like a little bit thicker or more pronounced, I guess, sticking out. But yeah, you just sand it a little bit and you're fine. Morning from Quebec City, about to go to Christmas brunch. Happy New Year. Many more hobby and many more hobbies goodness. Indeed. I've got the Battletech fever again. Oh, you got to get like a shot for that, I think. Maybe it's a pill. Kid bashing a Night Lord's Master of Executions while my son catches Pokemans. Nice. Good morning and happy holidays from frigid Boston. Was 9 degrees Fahrenheit. Ooh. East Coast, that's pretty chilly. If you plan on painting the terrain using whatever filament you have works well, just make sure you are all using PLA. Sure, right? Yeah. You don't. Yeah, I've never owned any other kind of filament. The only kind of filament I own is PLA anyway. Now I have switched between PLA Basic and PLA Matte, and it's interesting. I can barely tell the difference when they're printed on top of each other like that. Like you would think that all of a sudden like it would get shiny or not shiny or something like that, but I don't think I've come across a noticeable difference. I'll take a look at this new piece that came off the printer this morning. Technically it was last night, but yeah, I haven't tried like ABS or any of the other ones. It can print other stuff, from what I understand. From what I've been told, ABS, if you're printing ABS, then it is probably a sort of a good idea to ventilate it in some fashion if you can. But if you're just printing normal PLA, like because you're making terrain and stuff like that, yeah, it's no problemo. It's Spanish, I think. It's not actually Spanish. But yeah, and again, the color, it's like if you were switching between colors, but it was all PLA, your thing would look stripy and weird. But if you're going to spray over it like I am anyway, it doesn't matter. Like that's the thing is the reason, I see people go, yeah, but you could print in color if you use that. I'm like, I'm just, everything I print, I'm going to spray. So I don't need to, I don't need it to be in color. Once I get done with all this black filament, I bought 8 spools of PLA Basic, I don't know, earlier this year. because, you know, there was all this talk about the tariffs and all that stuff. So I was like, I should probably stock up on filament now. So I bought like 8 or 10, I think it was 8 spools, kilos technically, because each thing is a kilo of material. But I bought 8 kilos of PLA Basic, but I bought it in gray. I had bought everything in black in the past, and I decided I wanted to do it in gray because then when I'm spraying my black primer on it, it's easier to tell where I missed because I'm spraying black onto gray. If you spray black onto black, there might be spots you might miss with the spray on, you know, the spray primer and then not notice because it's the same color. So yeah, that's a thing that I was like, I should probably do that. So yeah, the gray stuff is coming very soon. And then there'll be a bunch of gray things that need to be painted. I've also come up with a pretty decent situation right now for using Rattle can in the winter. I do want to make a video. I'm going to print 2 identical little things, and I'm going to prime them both outside when it's like, I don't know, 20 or something like that, below freezing. And then I'm going to put one in the garage to let it cure overnight. And then I'm going to put the other one in my basement in the ventilation box thing that I have for my resin printer that I have never used still to this day. But I did drill a hole in my house for it. So anyway, I've been doing that lately. I've been doing Trench Crusade terrain, and I'll spray it outside and then bring it in the house and set it inside that ventilation thing, turn the fan on, and then let it cure overnight in there, but it's blowing the stink of the outgassing from the propellant outside. But I want to see what happens when you know, compare and contrast. I've sprayed these at the same time at the same temperature. One stays in the garage overnight and one stays in the house overnight, and see what it does. Because I've always been told that if you let that stuff sit outside when it's cold like that, especially if it's below freezing, it takes forever for it to actually cure / dry. And also you will get these bumpy, it's like the surface of your piece of terrain or whatever you're spraying can get like this sort of like reverse bumpiness, kind of like orange peel. You know what I'm talking about? So I want to, you know, check that out and see how it works out. And if it works out like I think, then make a video about it. If it turns out, well, I guess I can make a video either way. Like if it turns out perfectly and nothing goes wrong, they'll be like, well, you know, excuse me, having a throat problem currently. A bit stuffed up this morning. Morning from Newport, Oregon. How you doing, Hex? Good morning to that guy in Wiesbaden. I have family there. Well, there you go. Hello from Chicago, where the weather changes drastically every 8 hours. Man, yeah, that's the Midwest, kind of. I have to tell myself this all the time. You always miss all the shots that you don't take, and yet I miss a bunch. I don't know what that's related to, but, you know, there you go. Morning from Stockholm, Sweden. How you doing? Hello there from the frozen tundra of North Dakota. How you doing? Hello from Chile, West Virginia, assembling the biggest Gundam kit I have seen. Psycho Gundam 2. This thing is going to double as wargaming terrain. Nice. I printed from the folks over at Mini Wargaming. They have made they've started selling terrain. Like they're having terrain sculpted. I'm assuming they're paying sculptors or something, or maybe they have sculptors on staff. I don't know. But they're working to do that, and they've done some Kickstarters on some different terrain like sets and kits and things like that. And they will either sell you the STLs or they'll print it for you and ship it to you, which is also nice too. But I did do I have, is that my tab? Oh, it is. Wait, hang on. There we go. So they have this statue bundle. They make a lot of different stuff, but they have this statue bundle. And I don't think that's a real picture. I think that's a bunch of renders. But basically, so they have these different shapes. It's like this guy. I don't know who this guy is. I keep thinking he's some sort of like planetary governor. That's my thought, is that he's like, or maybe he's like the guy who founded the planet or whatever. It's definitely got a sci-fi vibe to it, right? But I guess you could technically use this stuff for fantasy too. It's not like he's carrying like a blaster or anything like that. But this piece over here definitely has like sandbags and like, so that makes me think it's at least a bit more sci-fi. But anyway, like when I printed this piece here, where it's like a ruined version of it, and they've built it up and put sandbags and stuff on it, that thing is probably, I don't know, maybe 10 inches tall. No, it can't be 10 inches tall. The printer volume's only roughly, yeah. The printer volume is 256 by 256 by 256 millimeters. So it's, this guy's probably about 9 inches tall. And then his friend over here in the background, this guy is an unruined version of that statue. So I've printed this guy. He's cool. He's done. He was one piece. This guy was 2 pieces. He was basically this giant kind of flared base and the sword and all that kind of stuff. And then right about where his belt or his cummerbund or whatever stops, right around here, is where the separating line is. And so you print that bottom part, which is, again, nearly 9 inches by itself, and then you print the top part, and then you stick them together. So I've printed both of those parts. I just haven't glued them together yet. I have to do some more sanding to where they meet. So that, because right now, no matter how hard I press, I can always kind of see light through it. If I catch it just right, I'm not getting them to seat properly. But then they have a smaller version of it unruined over here, and then they have these really smaller versions yet. But I wish that they would have put a miniature next to one of these. Like I wish they would have like this picture here, but show like a Space Marine or something next to it. Because yeah, it's got to be 16 inches tall when it's all done and put together. So it's pretty cool. I've been having fun with that. And I also want to texture it a little bit. I'm going to be making a video about texturing FDM terrain. That will get dozens of views, I'm sure. But still, I think it's interesting. Because I have like 3 different processes I want to try and see which one I like best. So that is my plan for that, and the spray paint plan are really two videos I want to make this upcoming month in January if I can. So that is where I'm headed. Oops. There we go. Painting some Carnivale miniatures. Nice. Good morning from a winter storm warning in Juneau, Alaska. See, winter storm warning in Juneau, Alaska, that's some serious business. That's not like winter storm warning most other places. So yeah, I hope everything goes well. It's supposed to get about a foot of snow tonight. I hope you have a great year. I hope you do too. Morning from Las Vegas. How you doing? Morning from Southern Oklahoma. Good time of day. Hope everyone has a great new year. Couple of inches, something the northern states and Canada say is nothing, something that will make Texas shut down. Yeah, I mean, like, seriously, like, if we get 8 to 10 inches overnight, then you just get up in the morning and you snow blow it and you go to work. You know, I mean, it's in Wisconsin. We like the infrastructure is built so that if that happens, it's not the end of the world. So like a couple of inches is like, whatever. But yeah, you're right. In certain parts of the country, for sure. I mean, my wife's uncle lived in Baltimore for a number of years, and he said that if Baltimore got an inch of snow, everything shut down, and like nobody knew what to do. And so he's just like, but coming from Wisconsin, he's like, this isn't a thing. But when you don't have the infrastructure for it, you don't understand it. Like my wife and I love to watch, I don't know, it's stupid, but we love to watch these videos from this YouTube channel called Fail Army, where people like send in videos either like, and a lot of times these days it seems to be like Ring camera, like those doorbell cameras of like, you know, themselves falling down their own stairs generally. And because if you mail it in, I think they send you, if they use it, they send you $100 or something. I don't know. Anyway, you can tell when people who are not used to weather walk out their front door and they're like, oh, it's kind of snowed a bit. And then they just tumble down their own, they don't tumble, they slide down on their butts, basically down their own stairs because they don't realize that things are slippery, especially stairs. Like people who live in this, most, you know, half the year, like we definitely are like, oh, okay. I mean, even if it hasn't snowed, you still take stairs kind of gingerly and you're stepping more with the front part of your foot versus the heel of your foot. And then you don't, and you're holding on to the railing. That's what they're there for. But yeah, you can always start to see the beginning of as soon as the point of view is from a Ring camera and you see a person walking away towards the stairs, you're like, oh, I know where this is going. And then it's usually just and just go down on their butts. They throw their coffee can, their coffee cup up in the air and all that kind of stuff. Running from cold, snowy Connecticut, we'll be doing D&D mini repairs for a friend today. Maybe or maybe not. Depends on how lazy I feel. Hope all is well with you. I hope all is well with you. After I get done here, we're going to my in-laws for lunch like we normally do. And then really all I have to get done this afternoon is I have to edit the podcast for tomorrow. So Vince and I have a podcast. It is called the Snarlcast. Vince and I have a game company called Snarling Badger Games, and we make games. You can go to snarlingbadger.com if you're so inclined and check it out. But the Snarlcast is our podcast that we do every 2 weeks, and it's about indie games and indie game design, like war games and stuff like that. So, yeah, tomorrow's the day. So we recorded last week. I think we recorded last Sunday or Monday. No, we recorded last Monday after my stream, and then yeah, I got to edit that tomorrow. Or tonight, this afternoon / the evening, and then we'll be good. But otherwise, my sister's wife was staying with us last week. She was here from Monday till Saturday, so she left yesterday. It was Christmas, and so we were doing a bunch of things and all that kind of stuff and everything. So this upcoming week, we host New Year's for our friends, and so our friends are going to come over New Year's Eve, and so we got to do some more cleaning for that. I got to get a haircut on Wednesday as well, so it's going to be busy. I was trying to decide whether I wanted to film on Thursday like I usually do, which would be New Year's Day, but it's going to be real cold, so I don't know. If I'm smart, I try to film maybe even on Tuesday and then edit on Thursday and not have to go anywhere. We'll see how it goes. Let's see here. Morning from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Building my Inquisition army. Nice. Let's see. Where Carnivale Miniatures, Louisiana. There we go. Boxing Week sale is pretty standard. We don't really do Boxing Day here, do we? But, I don't think so. I have Bamboo P1S, and it's great for terrain. Yep, I've heard that the P series ones are really good too. I just was like, because it was my first printer, I was like, I'm going to try the A1. It seems inexpensive and small, and so yeah, I've been real happy with it. Good morning from Boston. How you doing? Also for terrain and generally miniature-related creations, you only need to use PLA, which is almost not toxic at all, even for indoor use. Yeah, I mean, I've had people be like, well, there's still some vapors or not vapors, fumes, something. I don't know. There's still something, and it's a good idea to, I'm like, I mean, I'm not printing in a closet that I'm like living in, so it's like I can kind of smell it a little bit when I get near it in the basement. But frankly, the PLA smells like slightly sweet. It's not a stink. It's definitely like, it's not baked goods, but it definitely smells kind of sweet, which is decent. That is a great machine. Yeah, I've been really happy with it. Keep in mind, hardware prices are going up on a lot of electronic kit thanks to the demands that AI is making on the hardware economy. It's true. I mean, it's mostly like hardware for like RAM and things like that. So like laptops are going to get more expensive. Desktops are going to get more expensive. I don't know about printers, like 3D printers or even paper printers. Honestly, I don't know. Just put my A1 together yesterday and having sensor problems and haven't been able to print. That is a bummer. Huh. I wonder what the problem is. With mine, from the time that I cut the tape on the box to the time that I printed out my first Benchy and it was finished, was like less than an hour, like 57 minutes or something like that. But, every once in a while you get an issue. So yeah, they've got a pretty decent knowledge. Excuse me. They've got a pretty decent knowledge base on their website, so I would definitely check that out. My wife ordered me a Bamboo Lab A1 Mini for Christmas back in November. Still haven't shipped yet. Fingers crossed that it actually shows up. Wow. Well, I suppose, Christmas time is probably, like, I don't remember when I ordered mine. I thought it was summer? No, maybe it was around, I don't remember. Toronto, baby. Freezing rain incoming. Oh, well, that's no good. Cold but sunny. Lear in Belgium. Norgo Matthew, how you doing? Finishing my Gordrak, Fist of Gork. I'm assuming that's orc related, but I don't know anything about it. Hello, how you doing? Motoreth Jazz just stopped in to say hi. Have a good stream. On the road to see family, so I can't hang. Well, but good to see you. Hi from Argentina. How you doing? The combo thing can also be used to auto-change spools, not just color, but scrap filament. Yeah, I'll be honest, like with the single nozzle machines, the switching, even if you're just switching from like, because yes, you can switch from like color to color, but you could also switch from like, I want to make the supports a different material than the main body of the thing. But every time that it has to switch, then it has to like eject and make a little booger that it shoots out, and then in the back, and then draw, and then do it again. So it's swapping colors really slows you down. I have seen from what people I've talked to. Again, I've not done it myself, but I know that like just changing filament, when you run out, there's a process of heating up the nozzle, go through all that stuff, printing some out, and then kicking that little booger out. And so yeah, I don't know. I've also seen a lot of people excuse me, I've seen a lot of people who print a lot of color stuff, and they'll just be like, look at all these little, like I call them boogers. When it has to make the new piece, it like squirts out a little bit into this little tray thing that's over on the side, and then it's like, it kind of spirals as it's squirting out the plastic, and then it kind of cuts it off, and then it ejects that little thing out of that little cup where it holds it. And yeah, every time it switches between, if you're doing a Pikachu, every time it switches between, yellow and black or whatever, it has to kick out another one of those, and that can be layer after layer after layer. And so for me, I've never gone down that road. But the benefit is that, yeah, even if you just used multiple rolls of the same stuff, then when one of them ran out, it would just automatically switch over, which would be nice if you only have to do it once in a while. But if I was to start doing, like if I was to start selling prints, like for some weird reason, like I had to crank out a whole bunch of stuff and be basically running into manufacture mode, then I would probably think about getting some of those AMS things, those little external spool switchy around things. Because then, yeah, you could be like, I need to print this stuff and I need it to not stop. I never need it. I don't ever want it to be like, hey, I ran out of filament. You know what I mean? So I don't know. Bookshelves are looking good. Oh, yeah, I've did some cleaning in here. There's still a bunch of junk on the floor yet, but I'm getting there. Yeah, I've got like these prints up here are from Rob Turpin, who is the artist that we contracted to do the Chrome Rangers art. He does a lot of cool spaceships and stuff like that. If you just look up, oh gosh, I think he's either this Northern Boy or that Northern Boy on Blue Sky. It's either this or that Northern Boy, but his name is Rob Turpin, and I really like the spaceships and stuff. So when we reached out to him to do the artwork for Chrome Rangers, hang on. Do I have? Well, not really. I don't particularly have great. Anyway, he's on the cover here. That's the cover. If you go through to Wargame Vault, there we go. So anyway, he does really cool stuff. And so yeah, I've got a couple of prints that I bought from his website, and I bought some frames for them and stuff. I've got a Geiger counter back there somewhere. This is a lovely photo of my wife. This is a lovely drawing and illustration of Mothman that my friend Emily gave me. These are some miniatures that you can't see because the plexiglass is all warped. It's one of those artist opus cases that I got, and then like just the plexiglass is just warped, and then yeah, so doesn't work great for that necessarily, but yeah, so there's just a bunch of stuff back there, and then I've filled in the books and things, so that's fun too. It'd be easier, you could see that better if I was doing it. Like there's a picture of my wife, the yellow thing's a Geiger counter, those are the prints. There's just a bunch of stuff. There's a little rusty skull. That's the thing. That's the Mothman. There's a chrome jeez, this is hard to do backwards. It's a chrome skull there. That is a little miniature case, all that stuff. So, back to chat. All right. Man, I got a frog in my throat and I don't have a lot of coffee. Good morning from Mobile, Alabama. Currently working on my Ultramarines Assault Terminators with Thunderhammers. Nice. Good morning from sunny San Diego, trying to finish painting these Tomb Kings. Okay. Good afternoon from the sunny Baltic in Germany. How you doing? Good morning from unseasonably warm Middle Tennessee. Got Frostgrave Blood Legacy for Christmas. The minis in there are great. However, I can't find them. They don't seem to be FG soldiers. Frostgrave soldiers? Interesting. 8 kilos makes my 80s kid heart worry about Miami Vice. No. Good morning from Los Angeles. 44 degrees with a high of 66. Nice. Resin printer will change your life. It's a pain printing, but the quality is amazing. It is. And I would probably start doing it a little bit, except, excuse me, that my good friend Dave, who doesn't live very far away from me, he's very good at resin printing and has like a side business doing it. And he does FDM too. You can take a look at bottleandspool.com. Resin comes in a bottle, filament comes on a spool. So bottleandspool.com. So when I need to print stuff myself for terrain generally, then I just do it myself. But when I need like miniatures resin printed, then I pay Dave to do it. And so yeah. But yeah, resin printers are obviously way better for miniatures and stuff like that. Dozens of views. That sounds like a quality use of time. I've just gotten used to the fact that when I make a video about terrain, it's going to take a decent amount of work, but it's going to not necessarily pull down views. Like if I go back and look at the one that I did, the worst video, here's some fun. Let's take a look and see what some of my videos did this year. That sounds like a fun use of time. Let's do that. So, the worst video I think so far, now this one's only 2 weeks old. So, that one is how to get into your hobby flow state. That nobody cared, evidently. So that one's only got 13,000 views. So, but then the next lowest is about, I think, if I remember correctly, the next lowest is about the cheap, easy, and fast rust for Warhammer scenery. And that one, the title of it technically is Quick and Simple Rust for Warhammer Scenery. That's a decent title, I think. That says what it is on the tin, 15,000 views, and that's been up for 6 months. That one surprised the heck out of me. I really thought, because it was a really decent process. It works quite well, and it was very simple to, and the thumbnail like shows real nicely like what's going on. Yeah, I don't know what the deal was, but that one has done absolute garbage, which is fine. 2 weeks later, I made a video about 3 non-wargaming products to make mini paint, and that one's got like 65,000 views because it's about things you can buy. So there's that. But then the easy sci-fi digital signs for your wargaming terrain with the little those little name tags, those little digital name tags, and then you just slide it and you put them on your building to make it look like a little cyberpunk sign and stuff like that. That one also 20,000 views in 5 months, which is not great. So like I said, when I talk about terrain stuff, I find that it does about the worst of most of my stuff, but I think it's still useful, and I'm probably still going to do it anyway. So there you go. But anyway, what are you going to do? I'm looking to finally get an airbrush with some Christmas money. Any recommendations on an airbrush for a beginner? You could take a look at, there are a couple different airbrushes out there that will, like, there are these little portable compressors. Let me hang on a second here. let me go here to websites. Well, hang on. Let me see if I can figure out my address here. Tabletop Minions Amazon store. There and there. And random hobby stuff. Come on. Is it still in here? Here's the little digital name tag thingies. Here we go. So this thing is $55. And what it is it is an airbrush, a hose, and then this thing over here is a rechargeable air compressor thing. So, and you can get it in other colors and then it just costs more. I don't know why. If you want it in black, it's $55. It's $70 if you want it in red. But it's the same thing, isn't it? Like yeah. I'm like looking at the the airbrush to see if it's a different type of airbrush. It's just, but you can see, I mean, it's probably just Photoshop anyway, so it doesn't matter. But you can either attach it directly to the thing like that, or you could use the hose. And the hose makes a little bit more sense in my opinion. But yeah, you can just charge it up. It's a good place to start, and it's inexpensive too. So something like that's not a bad idea, because then you can kind of like, especially for if you want to start just by priming. Like if you get this, and then you get a bottle of the matte black airbrush primer from the Army Painter, for example, you could then just be like priming miniatures. Now, one downside to this is that it is 32 psi. So that's pounds per square inch, right? Normally, like I generally, when I'm doing airbrushing, my compression is a little bit lower. I'm usually between 20 and 25, but 32 is not terrible. So yeah, I don't know. You could, I mean, I think it might be overkill to get a regulator to put on something that inexpensive, but something like this is good for at least starting out and, trying to do some simple priming. And then like the next step after priming, just priming black, would be to, again, you get yourself some matte black airbrush primer from Army Painter. And then I would tell you to get a bottle of like the matte white, not primer, but just a regular airbrush paint, because then you can spray your model black and then you can spray it with white. Once you switch colors, spray it from white from above to do that zenithal thing. And then you're like already ahead of the game as far as like your slap chop type of look. And then you can use stuff like you can use a lot of different stuff to like kind of clean things up and go from there. What the heck is that neighbor doing? Huh. So yeah, that'd be a good place to start. Otherwise, I don't know if I have anything else in this here. There used to be another set. Yeah, maybe I don't have it in here. No. This is the printer enclosure thing that I use. It's like made out of, it's like soft-sided. It's got like a hard frame, but it's like, what do you call it? Like, I don't know why exactly, but it's got it's all reflective on the inside. I don't know if there's a reason for that or whatever. And it's got a big zipper that's nice. And then it has a hose that can come out the side, either side. And then it's got a inline fan, and then you can use it to blow it outside or whatever. And now this thing, I know I paid more than this because it's like $52 now. But yeah, so it's good for 3D printers, but it's also good for if you wanted to just, bring rattle can stuff in the house when it's cold or whatever. And you can fit an FDM printer in there too, probably. But again, if you were using ABS a lot, I could see the benefit to it. But anywho, that's where I'd start, I think, generally these days, if you're just like wondering if you want to get into it. Because if you did that, depending on where you want to spray, you could also maybe get, depending on how much you wanted to spend, you could maybe get, what I would do is get a small like furnace filter from the hardware store and maybe some sort of fan, and then kind of try to, and there's stuff online you can find, there's stuff on YouTube, like how to build your own spray booth, right? Like you take a cardboard box and you cut a hole in the back and you put the furnace filter in there, and you have a fan that's like sucking it, so when you're spraying, all the particulates going into the fan. You can buy a purpose-made device like that for airbrushing. They're about $120 or whatever. But they're nice. They're all one piece. They usually have built-in light and the whole deal. But you can also get away with just buying some stuff and getting a cardboard box and building your own thing. If any of you have been watching Trent Holbrook, aka Miscast, he's got a second YouTube channel now where he just does daily, like every single day, 7 days a week. He does these little vlogs. And he built himself a little airbrush booth thing out of like, I don't know, looks like a plastic tub and some other stuff. So there's options there too. Let's see here. Good morning, all. Hope you had a good holiday there. Absolutely. First night back home after a week at my mom's place. I'm so happy to be in my hobby space again. Sure, I understand that. Other side of the country in Maine. Feisty Crab Man, how you doing? I know you're not a fan of printing in color, but my jungle terrain is meant to do just that, with the caveat that it doesn't need an AMS. It has defined color changes, pause and change, or push fit. Interesting. Infrastructure is infrastructure. If you don't have the infrastructure for snow removal or the experience driving it, obviously it's not going to be nothing. Sure, absolutely. Good morning from Southern California. Picked up 2 Conquest starter sets after watching Monument Hobbies painting some. Just planning to paint and learn First Blood. Fun looking models. They've gotten a lot better. When they first launched back in like 2018, the sculpts were cool, but the molds were... The more you spend on making a mold for plastic, the sharper and sharper the details get, because the way that metal molds are made is they're actually kind of like milled out from the inside. So if you're thinking about it in reverse, having like a pointy horn on like a whatever, like some sort of monster that comes to a very, 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 very sharp point, you need an incredibly tiny little tool to get up inside the metal to grind all the way to the very tip of that thing, right? If you don't spend as much on the very, very, very fine tools and you go, well, let's do the slightly cheaper version, then every little detail kind of just comes to a rounded, softer end because they're using a bigger tool basically to get up inside there. Everything in this situation is, smaller and not, but see, you know what I mean? Like when you have to if you want to make your details incredibly sharp, you need incredibly tiny tools to grind to a point negatively on the inside. You see what I'm saying? So like plastic models that are made with a metal mold are not like, they don't pour liquid metal over like a master, like they actually have to grind into the metal to do it. Whereas resin models and even metal models, that is liquid mixed like rubber that is poured over a master, and then you pop it so that you don't have to, all that to be said, they had cool sculpts, but they had pretty soft details. Now, since the pandemic, maybe even a little touch before, well, I don't know. Conquest models are real nice and sharp. If you look at like that awesome like Tyrannosaurus with like that orc dude riding on the back of it, that's an incredible model. Like really super sharp, gorgeous details. All the new stuff they've been doing for those like undead Romans and all that stuff, real nice details. So yeah. Every region has something. Tennessee can't handle snow, but 98 and humid is a normal Wednesday. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like humid we get here a lot, but once it starts to get closer to 100, everyone's like, ugh. But we do have air conditioning too. We have to kind of cover both bases in Wisconsin. You have to have air conditioning and, a good furnace. Excuse me. Good afternoon from London. Hope you all had a lovely Christmas. I was going to say it was a bit nippy until the Alaskan popped up. I mean, yeah. And Canadians, sure, yeah. 10 inches Norfolk, Virginia would be shut down until it gets above 35 degrees. Thrilled I caught you today. Well, I'm glad to have you here. Just moved from frigid, snowy Idaho to Phoenix. Wishing you a fantastic end of the year and new year. Well, that's a very different thing between Idaho and Phoenix, but there you go. Teach yourself to walk like a penguin? Absolutely. You have to. I mean, that's kind of the way it works. Is anyone else getting pop-up ads from YouTube that cover the chat? That's annoying. You shouldn't do that. Let's see here. There we go. Greetings from snowy Nutley, New Jersey. Start of 2026 will be about printing ruined village STL files from my dungeon for a Mordheim Frostgrave board. Happy New Year, minions. That sounds fun. That sounds a lot of fun. Takes about 60 centimeters of snow in a 24-hour period to shut things down here. It depends on the city public works to do their game. Sure. Snarlcast podcast is what got me my own first game out of the brain and into the itch. It's volleyball. So thank you for that. Itch, for people that don't know, it's itch.io. It's a website for selling digital stuff, like digital, like, you know, I suppose you could sell STL files and stuff like that, but PDFs and things like that too. So yeah, that's very cool. I'm glad to hear it, Nick. Learning to use Kraut cover base scatter. Got tips because it's a mess. Interesting. Greetings from Belgium. Love the channel. You are a great inspiration and motivator, both hobby-wise and life-wise. Well, that's very nice of you to say. I appreciate that. Morning and happy time of day to you. I hope you and yours are well, getting ready to work at 12C in Canada. That's below freezing. So yeah, I don't know what 12C is in Fs. Probably getting near zero, probably, yeah. Let's see here. Good time of day from cloudy Hull, UK. Up visiting family for Xmas. Just got back to my hotel room. Great to be able to catch you live. Absolutely. Thanks for coming by. 2026 is going to be my year of the Badger. Finally going to get your games to the table and stop just talking about it. Well, that sounds cool. That sounds cool. Jake Paul certainly doesn't enjoy Boxing Day. Ooh, there you go. I thought Boxing Day was a European holiday where they watched the sport of boxing. No, it's something about, someone told me on Friday in the stream that it's about, like, rich people used to take boxes of, like, food to poor people or something like that, maybe a long time ago. I mean, not these days, obviously. God forbid. When you fall asleep with a touchscreen device, you haven't lived until you wake up to a German-speaking 40K lore channel. Kind of scary. Okay, a lot of scary. Vince, for a while. So there's this woman. She's a creator on YouTube. Her name is Jenny something. Jenny Anderson, Jenny Christensen, Jenny. I don't know. But she basically kind of like sits on her bed and like talks to the camera for like a really long time about, I don't know, all kinds of like nerd stuff, like, you know, Star Wars and, you know, whatever. Richardson. And anyway, it's gonna bother me, but not that much. Somehow, like, people would be watching her videos and then they would fall asleep, and then the next video that would pop up very frequently would be one of Vince's Warhammer Weekly Wednesday shows. And so, like, there was a couple of his weekly shows that somehow the algorithm has decided, well, once people watch this, they're definitely going to want to watch that, which doesn't make sense. But he was getting tons and tons and tons of views on a couple of older episodes, reruns, whatever, VODs, if you will, videos on demand, of, you know, from old streams. And it was going for months, and he was just like, his views were like going crazy because she's like huge on YouTube for the most part. And then, you know, but people, he knew it was happening because people would be commenting. They'd be like, I fell asleep watching Jenny, what's her name here? And then all of a sudden now I woke up and there's this guy and he's talking about stuff I don't understand and stuff like that. And I just thought that was kind of interesting. So yeah, that'll happen too. I've done that too. I fall asleep on the couch and like woken up and be like, I don't know what I'm watching. So, you know. My P1S is the only printer I have that will do TPU. I don't remember what TPU is. I know it's a filament. I just don't remember what it does. Boxing Day is also a Canadian thing. Gotcha. Boxing Day in Australia. No kidding. Any tips for overcoming lines left in filament printed terrain? I mean, that's part of what I'm looking to do. So those statues I was showing you before from Mini Wargaming, website, this thing. So I want those to look obviously like they're made out of stone, but I don't want to screw up the scale. Here's a bit of a preview, maybe. Sculpt coat. Is that what it's called? I've been seeing this stuff on Instagram. No, Facebook, whatever. I've been seeing this stuff. It's called Sculpt Coat. What if your projects look like sculptures? And so it's this, go away. It is this little skinny envelope of powder for like 25 bucks. Well, you can get it for 19 now. It's on sale. And like when it showed up, I'm like, oh, wow, this is a lot less than I thought. But basically what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to take this stuff, right? And you mix it up 2.5 parts powder to 1 part water. And it turns it into something that frankly is a little bit like the consistency of like peanut butter. And then you spread it over your 3D printed doohickey, and then it looks like it's made out of stone. The problem is that it makes it look like it is stone if it was a 1-to-1 scale thing, like a little trinket you put on top of your piano, and now it looks like it's a cool stone statue instead of something you 3D printed on your whatever. But I don't want my statue that's a piece of terrain to look like it is 1-to-1 scale. I want it to look like it's 28mm scale. So what I want to try to do is I want to see if I can take this stuff and use it way thinned down and then put it on there to get like a bit of a micro texture so that when you then spray it with it, then it looks more stony, right? Like so this is one thing I want to use, and I have 2 other things that are not purposely designed for this that I also want to use in that video, and then compare and contrast and see what's the best situation or whatever. But yeah, that's something I want to do with this big guy here. Like whatever works best is what I'm going to use on the big guy. So like I said, I'm going to be testing on different pieces of terrain. Just like I'm just going to print some stuff out and then test it on there to see what it looks like. But what I've been noticing is that with at least the Bamboo Lab A1, I have been noticing that I'm getting, like when I printed this guy out, and even when I printed the other guy that looks like this, who's considerably shorter, he's only about 9 inches, like I was amazed at how smooth it was. I'm really barely getting mold lines, or not mold lines, but the striation lines, whatever they're called, layer lines. And I'm doing it like, I'm still printing on a 0.4mm nozzle. Like I have a 0.2mm nozzle, but then that more than doubles the amount of time it takes to print usually. But I am printing at 0.08 layer lines. Like there's different settings. So I'm kind of, in the software for Bamboo Lab, you can set your layer height settings, and I've got it set to like ultra fine or something like that. And so, yeah, like this guy took like a day and a half to print at only like 9 inches tall. But when he came off the printer, he is pretty smooth. Now, if it's something stone like this, if I can figure out which one of these 3 products, whether it's Sculpt Coat or the other 2, which one works best to give it a little bit of a stone texture that doesn't look too chunky, because again, we're trying to make it show you, hey, this is a statue that is very big, that kind of thing. That'll help to also hide some layer lines a little bit. But honestly, just some fine grit sandpaper will help too. The other thing that I've been doing with all of my terrain lately when I print it is when it's done printing and everything like that, I take it outside and I use a black enamel primer made from Rust-Oleum. Rust-Oleum is the company that makes it. And I spray that on there because I don't use my airbrush to prime terrain much, because A, it takes a lot longer, and B, especially if it's plastic PLA or a plastic kit you buy from like Games Workshop or whoever, I feel that Rattle Can sticks to it better, and you have a tendency to treat your terrain a little bit more roughly than you treat your miniatures. So I'll prime miniatures all day long with my airbrush, not a problem. But a piece of terrain, I would rather put at least a bit of a layer of like Rattle Can on it because it'll stick better. So I do that, and then once that's set for a couple of minutes or whatever, then what I do is I use another Rust-Oleum Rattle Can product, and it's called Filler Primer. And I spray that, it's a light gray color, and I spray that kind of like a zenithal, so sort of from above. And then what that does is it also does help to hide the layer lines a little bit. And I don't need to spray it everywhere, but just spraying it from above does help to hide the layer lines from above. You don't care about layer lines on the underside of the statue or the underside of the piece of terrain because you don't see those parts as much because they're underneath, but you see the top of the terrain piece a lot. So spraying it from above with this filler primer, just basically dusting it like you would be doing a zenithal, also helps a lot to hide layer lines. So those are the tips that I've got right now, as far as that's concerned. Is it YouTube's way of forcing you to buy their monthly subscription to get rid of ads? It's got so bad for me that I finally caved and just bought the subscription, no pop-ups. Yeah, we switched over to premium almost 2 years ago, maybe. And yeah, it's not cheap, but boy, oh boy, it is just so nice to just not see ads at all anymore on YouTube at all, which is lovely. I get it. On the A1, check the wire plugs. Oh, for the sensor thing? Yeah, it could be. Yeah, for sure. I'll get the new OPR, new Undead army, but I can only seem to find the STL files. I need them pre-printed. I don't know. Do they do that? So if we go to onlygames.co, and we go to one-page rules. Do they work with those guys or not? They may not. Oh, wait a minute. Hang on. Oh, there you go. So if you go to only-games.co/collections/one-page rules, then this is, so let's see, Blessed Sisters, Ratman, Alien Hives, Human, Lust Demons, Plague Demons, Change Demons, War Demons, Saurian Star Host, ooh, the Splizzards. Yep. Jackals, Beastmen, Eternal Dynasty, Saurians, and Robot Legions. So they might just not have entered them yet. They don't have... Oh, those are featured products, so there might be more than that. Well, maybe not. Maybe that's all I have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Wait, that's 12. Yeah, there's only 14. So they don't have the undead guys yet over at Only Games. It looks like. So yeah. Then in that situation, you'd probably have to find somebody else to print the stuff for you. But Only Games does a lot of 3D printing, you know, and they're like, Only Games is owned by, I believe, owned by My Mini Factory, but not everything on My Mini Factory is available on Only Games. So. PLA smells like concentrated overcooked corn because that's what it is. Yeah, maybe. It's got like a sweet kind of smell to it. We have a cold front coming to Texas tonight. I'm looking forward to seeing as it was 81 on Christmas Day. That is pretty warm, yeah. Had to fix my first blob of death on my A1. Wasn't fun, but managed to save the nozzle. I have never had a blob of death. Knocking on wood. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year from Southern New Jersey. How you doing? Weird thing is this only happened in Adam's chats, none of the others that I follow. I wondered if it might be a setting on his end. So it asks me when I first start, it's like, hey, do you want to have us put ads in the video? And I say no, and I set it to manual. So in theory, there's a button I could push that makes it launch an ad, and I just go, yeah, just let me push that button, and then I don't push that button. Like there's ads in the rerun when you watch that, and if I don't get to it fast enough, they put in an ad about every 30 seconds, I swear. Okay, it's not, but it's like every 3 minutes, maybe every 2 minutes. Like when I see the timeline of the 2-hour, like, you know, video, it'll just be like, makes these little marks to show different areas where it could put in ads, and they'll just be like doink, 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 doink. For a long time, it would do it for the first hour and then no ads for the second hour. I'm like, what? So I always have to try to remember as quick, like it rarely ever, it's usually not done processing by the time that we go to my in-laws for lunch. So I either have to bring my laptop along to my in-laws for lunch, or when we get home, the first thing I do is I check it, and then I have to go through and delete a bunch of the ads because it's gone ham and just put in way too many ads. And I have people in the comments who are like, geez, there's too many. I'm like, I wish we could fix it, but you can't. God forbid. So yeah, but as far as like, there really ought not to be too many ads. Like there shouldn't be any ads running while I'm talking. They do have a feature now where all of a sudden like the picture should get smaller and like go over here, and then there's an ad over here. But I'm like, can we just not? Like, just how about not? Drives me nuts. Let's see here. Common slang for that waste is poop. I don't know why, but I like booger better. I don't know why. Because it sort of gets flicked, maybe. That's why at the end, because it kicks out the filament and the little thing, and then the little thing goes blip and like, and then flicks it out. What printer are you running? Bamboo Lab A1. I got the AMS 100% for the auto switch over to another reel when one runs out. It's a mild convenience, but it makes me happy, which makes it money well spent. Nice. I haven't deployed it yet, but I bought from a company called Polymaker, and it is a thing that you put your resin or your filament spool inside, and then it warms it, and also I think dries it, and it's like enclosed. And so I'm gonna launch it. I'm gonna set it up soon. It's been one of those things that the end of the year didn't allow me to get done, or the last half of the year didn't allow me to get done. But it's been sitting on my floor here in the office, and now it's downstairs in the basement, so it's a little closer to where it needs to be. But yeah, that is a thing. So in that situation, like the ones that sit on top of the more fancy ones, like the P1s and all that kind of stuff, like those are enclosed. They might be heated, but I don't know if they are. And I think that there's a way you can make them so that they sort of dry things out. During the winter, it's not as big of a deal. I'll let filament sit on a spindle for a long time down in the basement in the winter because the humidity is quite low. In the summer, even with the humidifier running, it still gets up to around 50% humidity sometimes a touch higher. And so I find that as soon as I get done printing, I immediately want to take that spindle and put it in a big plastic bag with one of those big desiccant packages, so that it doesn't swell, which then has a tendency to get it caught in the machine a little bit more. But with that thing from Polymaker, I'll just be able to leave it in there because it'll keep it sealed. It warms it when it's running to some degree, I think. And also it, like I said, you can put like a big desiccant packet in there. So it also helps to keep it drier. So that's kind of a nice thing too. Was surprised to see those Trench Crusade models you reviewed a while back in the FLGS. I gotta admit, I was tempted, even though I have no intention of playing. They're great models. And the plastics are starting to show up in stores for sure, since probably late November, maybe early December. Just recently found your channel. I really do enjoy your content. Well, that's very nice of you, Fohammer. Thank you. Do you ever do diorama type projects? Not really. I'm not really a display guy much. I like to play. So the stuff that I paint and do all and build and whatever is generally more for tabletop quality. Sometimes tabletop plus if I'm being fancy, but yeah, it's for the most part designed for play. So I have not done displays or dioramas. If you're looking for that, I would tell you to check out my friend Sam Lenz on YouTube. It's Lenz spelled L-E-N-Z. So not lens like a camera lens, but lens with a Z on the end instead. I mean, he's a astounding painter. He has won the most painting awards of any North American. And but he does do like little diorama stuff and things like that for display painting and things like that. So yeah, he's probably a good person to follow on that situation that I know of. Keep bashing my newest zombie apocalypse survivor group, hoping to get them to the table this evening for me and my wife's gaming session. Nice. What are people's hobby wishes and goals for 2026? It's a good question. I mean, that's one of the things I was going to talk about today for myself personally. So I'm definitely doing, I'll be honest, I've been very much more into cyberpunk type sci-fi lately than say like 40K type sci-fi. Partially because I've been playing the Cyberpunk 2077 game like a lot more lately. I played it when it first came out, the video game, and then I didn't play it for like a really long time. And then I've gotten back into it over the last year, maybe a year and a half. And I've been playing it a lot. I played it some yesterday too. And it's just so inspiring as far as terrain and things like that. It's amazing. So, yeah, I am working on a cyberpunk, probably actually a couple of cyberpunk boards. I've already got a design started. I get this frog in my throat that won't go away. I have this design started for a 3-foot by 3-foot board. And I've been sketching, I've sketched out the road design. And now one of the first things I want to do in this new year is I want to make, basically like, I'm going to use a piece of like, God. I'm going to use a piece of MDF, and that's going to be the street. And then curbs and sidewalks and all that kind of stuff are actually going to be something that I 3D print, only a little smaller than 1/4 of an inch. And then, but it's going to look like the sidewalks kind of in Cyberpunk, where there's not just like a normal like concrete sidewalk, but things are like, angled and kind of just sci-fi looking. So I've been walking around taking screenshots in Cyberpunk 2077 to kind of figure out like what I want to do with this design. So rather than like cutting out MDF to glue to the base MDF to make the like raised parts, and I'm just going to 3D print this stuff and then glue it down on the board. And I don't want to make it modular. And so that's plan one. I already have a bunch of buildings. Some are laser cut MDF. Some are 3D printed, and I'm 3D printing more. And those will be modular, like on those blocks, but they're not going to be, the blocks themselves are not going to be modular. And then I also want to do another 2-foot by 2-foot one, because I would really like to make, either Vince and I are going to make a cyberpunk game at some point that plays on a 2x2, or I'm just going to modify, I don't know, some other rule system and like make it so that I can play games, a cyberpunk 2x2 foot board. I just think it'd be really interesting. 3x3 is fine too, and I might find that I do prefer 3x3, but building a 2x2 is considerably easier. If you go to Lowe's, if you have a Lowe's where you live, if you go to Lowe's, they sell these things that they call project boards, and they're just 2-foot by 2-foot pieces of that green XPS foam. And it's just perfectly cut 2x2. And it's like, well, that's an awesome board right there. They also sell wood too. It's also pre-cut at 2x2. I don't know why. I don't know what it's for, but if I can just take one of each of those, bring it home, glue it together, and start building, like, why wouldn't I do that? So that's kind of the progress there. I also want to build more of the Necromunda terrain tiles. I have 2 of them built, which is really at this point only a 1x2, so because they're a foot by a foot. I have 2 more like started, but they're not like glued down, and they're definitely not primed. So I want to get at least 2 more finished so I can again make a 2x2 and then just play like Space Weirdos and stuff like that on it, because that's not going to be cyberpunk in my mind. That Necromunda type stuff is far more, GWE, obviously, but I do really like the concept of the more cyberpunk stuff, and I've got these little like those little name tags, those little digital name tags make great little billboards and stuff like that. I have another one over here. It's not plugged in, so there you go. But it is it's just stuck in a pile of crap. Anyway, it's one of these things, and people put them in the windows of their car, and they're flexible, and they're full color. This one's dusty, but they're inexpensive. Like this is maybe $20 some or whatever, 25 maybe, And I thought this was plugged. No, it's not plugged in. Well, there you go. I think I can plug it in. There we go. See, like it can be like a cyberware sign or whatever. Like you take this and like cut a hole in a building and then put this behind it, you could just have this crazy sign that's just going when you're playing the entire time. It just has to be plugged in, but you could also just plug it into a battery pack, you know, and let it run during the thing. But you could also have it, if your building had like a curve to it, you could give it a curve, right? And then you have this like curve thing on the corner of the building that just would look pretty cool too, you know? So yeah, it's, they're pretty neat. So, how do I turn it off? I thought this button turned it off. Ah, you have to press and hold. Anyway, stuff like that. I want to do a little bit more of this year, even though, like I said, that video with the little name tag things didn't necessarily do great views, but I did see a guy last month. I was one of the pages that I follow on stupid Facebook. One of the pages I follow on Facebook is like a Necromunda Terrain Makers page, and I saw someone who had downloaded the STL that I made for the thing that holds it and like printed it out and painted it and had bought one of those things and slid it in there and was making a cool piece of terrain. It was like a little hut like selling like stims or whatever and stuff like that. And they showed it off on the page. So I felt good about that because I'm like, oh, cool. Somebody's actually like, you know, doing that stuff. So for me, that kind of terrain is a big deal. And that's what I'm really kind of focusing on a little bit more this year. I mean, I'm still painting stuff. I'm painting Trench Crusade stuff right now on Twitch, which I do on Monday nights and Friday mornings. And I have some Trench Crusade terrain that I also want to finish up. I've got 3 or 4 pieces that are all primed now, and I just need to start painting. Which if I wasn't editing the podcast this afternoon, I would actually probably be doing that. Because I almost did it yesterday, but then I was painting those Arasaka guys instead. But I was going to just go in my airbrush room and just start working on the terrain stuff for Trench Crusade. But I don't know. Sam and I haven't seemed interested in actually making trenches for Trench Crusade. We're just playing like kind of a little bit more normal, which is fine. But yeah. I really like the hobby flow state. It's something I've been struggling with this past year. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Like, people liked the video in the comments. No one was like, well, this was stupid. You know what I mean? Like that. But it just sometimes just doesn't catch, and then people don't see it. Also look at makeup compressors for airbrushes. Pink tax can sometimes be cheaper than hobby tax. Sometimes. I have an Anycubic FDM printer that is absolute trash. Getting rid of it for the A1 Mini. Early FDM printers were a lot of messing around. There was a lot of tweaking and tuning and like my good friend Matt, not moderator Matt, but Game 4 Matt, if you remember from the Game 4 podcast when I used to, he got in kind of early FDM, and it was a lot of like, oh, I got to buy like these gears for it, then it'll work better. And then I need to buy this like magnetic thing in the bottom because otherwise it's real hard to get stuff off of the plate and just all that jazz. And yeah, FDM printers have just gotten so much further ahead now. Like I said, from the time that I open the box for my A1 to the time I took this little boat, it's what they call the SS Benchy. It's just a little benchmark boat to make sure your printer's working. From the time I took this off of the plate, from cut the box to take this off the plate was less than an hour. So they set up very easily, the Bamboo Lab ones at least. So a couple of guys in my gaming group are accomplished 3D printers and recently hooked me up with hundreds of new minis for me to paint. Goal is to tackle all those in 2026. Cool. Nice. Got some Christmas dough that's burning a hole in my pocket. Not sure what to do. Supplies and tools or more models. I mean, I need to get a new X-Acto blade because I don't know what happened to mine. It just like I took it with me to I thought I took it with me to go to VinciCon, and then I got to VinciCon and I was like, I don't know where the heck my hobby knife is. So I used one of his, one of Vince's. And then when I got home, I couldn't find it either, my old one. And so I've been using this sort of janky one that doesn't work great. So I bought a new one that's actually coming, I think, tomorrow. I bought it on Amazon. Also with these really cool pinchy tweezers too. I call them reverse tweezers, which is evidently not the terminology, but I guess still Amazon figured it out. Instead of like I have to press to make it squeeze, it's like squeezing all the time, and when you press, it unsqueezes. That's, I guess, what, I don't know. Anyway, I was watching a guy. I watched a really interesting video yesterday of a guy who's more into scale modeling, and he used to be a kit, like completely like scratch builder. He makes these, like, basically he'll find a photo of like an old building, of like the wall of an old building, like straight on flat shot of an old building. And then he would recreate it completely in 3 dimensions, like with pieces of card and this and that and blah, 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 and then paint it up to the point where it would look like a photograph, but it would be 3-dimensional. And he puts it in a frame and the whole deal. It's really interesting. Well, now he's gotten into doing that in 3D design. Like he uses Fusion, I think, to start, and then he does all the texturing in Blender. And then he resin prints this thing out, and then he goes through and paints it. But like a lot of the painting techniques he was doing in this more scale model type thing, I was like, this is interesting terrain stuff. And one thing he does is he uses like big chunks of like kitchen sponge, not like foam, like regular, but where it's got the different size holes and all that kind of stuff. And he holds it in one of these like reverse tweezer things, and then he like stipples with it and stuff like that. And I was like, that'd be kind of, so I ordered some of those too. So they'll be showing up soon, like maybe tomorrow. How do you store your terrain? I use plastic storage bins, and I'm up to 8 very large bins. My wife had, and a wife with an angry look. I have a big basement. Well, it's not that big. It's about roughly the size of the house, so it's kind of big. And then I have shelves, you know, and things like that, that I put the terrain on. So it makes them sometimes get kind of dusty. I should start trying to find like little cloths to put over them or something like that if I'm not going to use them too frequently. I also do have some plastic tubs though too, yeah. I have a lot of Battletech terrain that's in plastic tubs, but it's mostly at the studio. See, like you scroll and then you can keep track of it, and you get to a certain point where then it just goes to the bottom. And then I'm like, man, and I can't find where I was. Ow. It's not a grow tent. There we go. Okay. Christmas dough. How do you store your terrain? Those of us who listen / watch those videos that don't do well really appreciate that you do them. And that's the reason. Like if it was a situation where it got no views and also people were like, boo, you suck in the comments, I'd be like, well, maybe I did something wrong there. But I generally get, you know, people like they may not hit the algorithm, which is to say the audience. The algorithm is the audience. Don't let people tell you that it's not. It is. And what I mean by that is people will blame the algorithm and go, oh yeah, see, they didn't show it because it wasn't about this or that or what. You know, but the fact is that the way the algorithm works is it reacts to the audience's reaction. When a video goes live, then the first thing that YouTube does is it starts sending it out to people who have, and by sending it, I mean like it shows you the thumbnail. So when you're like looking through YouTube, it's like, hey, there's a new video from this person. You've watched videos from them in the past. And then if you go, I don't really want to watch that right now, it tracks that and then goes, okay, well, we keep showing it to people who liked the last video or watched the last video, but they're not watching this video. So we're not going to show it to as many people going forward. And that's how the algorithm works. It's reacting to the reaction of the viewers. Or if you start to watch it and you stop 30 seconds in, it's like, that's not. And so all of that is what's going on. It's not the algorithm making any decisions for itself. It's the algorithm making decisions based off of, hey, we showed it to a bunch of people. They didn't give a crap, or didn't care. And so we're not going to show it to as many people going forward. Whereas if it shows it to a bunch of people who watched your last video and they all watch it, Well, then it'll go, oh, this is popular amongst those folks. Let's show it to some other folks who've maybe watched his videos like 2 months ago or whatever. And that's how the algorithm works. So there are times that stuff just doesn't hit. Tutorials have a tendency to be like that. A lot of folks out there, like if I've talked about this a bunch of times. If you make a tutorial about how to paint power swords, if a person sees that pop up in their feed and they're like, oh, cool, so-and-so made a video about power swords. Like if I made a video about how to do power swords, if you're not painting power swords right now, you might not care and you might not watch it. But then later on, 6 months from now, you're like, how do I paint power swords? And you type that in. So tutorials can have kind of a bit of a longer tail, but their initial velocity is not necessarily great. Whereas initial velocity is not very easy to trigger, but pretty easy to trigger via drama. It's also very easy to trigger via, hey, look at this new product. People love to like you. If you think about it, I have a tendency to watch a lot of YouTube while I'm eating lunch and stuff like that, or whatever. So there's times when you're like, do I want to learn something, or do I want to find out maybe if this is a thing I want to buy? It's just part of the hobby that just like product videos do better almost always. So there's that too, but I still like to make tutorials because I think that actually education is more important than what's the new thing you should buy. But, got to do what you got to do, I guess. Really like the concept of the name tag signs. Maybe it's a bit niche to sci-fi, but I thought it was inventive and I enjoyed that video. I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, it's still, I think, a good thing to do, and it's done okay, but, it's not done great. Got a decent compressor, about $75 on Amazon, and get a good name brand airbrush. Like, if you're pretty sure you want to get into airbrushing, then I think you're not wrong. I would definitely tell you to go on Amazon and maybe look for, or, but Amazon's probably, let me see here, Masters Airbrush. There's an extra, okay, well, it figured it out. Boop, there we go. So like here, Master Airbrush, it's not Masters, it's Masters, it turns out. So here's one right here. It's $130, and you're going to get a compressor, an airbrush, you're going to get a hose. Your compressor has a moisture trap and also a regulator, so you can change the PSI, which is cool. They're going to give you some body art paint. I don't know what you want to do with that for, but whatever. I'm not here to tell you what to. Anyway, Master is like cheap, but still relatively reliable. I know Vince has done videos before about how to get into airbrushing and stuff like that, and it's a decent name. It's not it's not the best. It's not even necessarily great, but it's also not like random conglomeration of letters for the, how like so many products now on Amazon are like weird. Like honestly, that thing I showed you before, the rechargeable like travel compressor, like what the heck was the name of that? Here, everybody loves IMYDs. Why can't you just come up with even something that sounds kind of like a word? It's like AI is running some of this stuff. Now, like I said, I ordered this. It actually showed up, so it's not a scam. So we got that going for us, which is nice. Wrong button. Nope. Now I went the wrong. Where did it go? Oh, over here. But yeah, so if you want to spend a little bit more money, then I would tell you to go with something like this. Because here's the deal. If it turns out you want a better airbrush or a different type of airbrush, you could just get a different airbrush and then it would still work with this compressor and that stuff. For the most part, you have to watch the hose connections. Like some companies have got a weird connection on the bottom. I don't know why, but you can get adapters that fit down here on the thing. The main thing that you want with your airbrush is something called gravity feed, which is to say it has the cup up on the top for the paint and it's not a bottle that sits underneath. So when you are spraying the big bottle that sits on the underneath part of the airbrush, that's what they call siphon feed. And you have to run at a higher PSI to basically get the suction to suck the paint out. The people who use the siphon feed with the bottle on the bottom are very frequently people who are like if you do airbrush painting at the mall, because you have a whole bunch of bottles of paint and you need to swap quickly. So you unscrew this one and then you screw another color in there, you spray until another color comes out, and then you go back and keep spraying your airbrush t-shirt or whatever it is you do. For us though, for painting miniatures, we use that top cup. And then because gravity is what pulls the paint down and shoots it through the thing, it doesn't have to be as high of a pressure. So you can shoot it 20, you know what I mean? So yeah, this is also a good setup generally as well. It's got all the right parts. It's got the needle, and then there's this thing and that thing. And I don't know, some of these things I don't use. Like when I am using my airbrush, I don't use the back handle, and there's sometimes a screw back here and I just don't bother. I just don't have it on there. But all this and this, there's the stuff that goes into when I keep my brush wet all the time when I'm not using it. The parts that stay wet are this body part here, and then these 3 nozzles. I don't put the trigger in there. I don't put any of this back stuff. I don't put the needle. I just put 4 parts in water. I put these 3 nozzly bits and I put the body part in. That's all I do. So, but yeah, so stuff like that, it's not a bad idea if you're looking to get into airbrushing. And it's, again, relatively inexpensive. Not as cheap as $55, but still, let's see here. I would recommend Galeri Serenaire airbrush compressor kit. Really excellent value for money. I've not heard of that one. I have an Iwata, but I never airbrushed much because it was a pain in the butt until I got a mini air compressor with airbrush. So I use Iwata for my airbrush, and I've been using the same airbrush. It's an Iwata Eclipse, an HPCS. I've been using that for, I think I've been using it for a decade. Yeah, at least. Well, because we bought the house in 2010. And I don't think I got my airbrush set up for a couple of years until we moved in. Yeah, it's probably 12, 13 years. So and I use it a lot, and that thing's lasted, man, that Iwata. I mean, yeah, it's a bit more expensive, like a, how much does an Eclipse cost these days? About $180 by itself. But it's a workhorse, 170. Nope. There we go. I have a backup that I bought back in 2023 just in case, but I haven't had to use it yet. So, yeah. So like this, like I said, this back part back here, this handle, I just never have it on. Whenever I'm using it, it's just like the body and the needle and stuff sticking out. That's what I use. But yeah, it's really good, and it's never given me trouble, and I have never clogged it because it is always moist when I'm not using it. To be fair, it's in water. That's different than moist, I suppose. Love the matte black AP airbrush primer. Yes, I'd give anything for the other colors and primers like that. Possibly good news. I think we're heading in the right direction. We had a what do you call it? A meeting. We had a online meeting of the Army Painter factory team a couple weeks ago before Christmas, and I think we're heading in the right direction on that. So hopefully soon, because yeah, I want airbrush primer in dark brown. I want purple, and I want probably a military green and like a bone color at the very least. Those are the 4 that I would really like. Everyone knows that red makes you paint faster. It might be. Grow tent. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. The only reason I can think that it's maybe that Mylar is just that it's reflective for keeping the heat in. I don't know. I don't know why it's like that either. Could be a modified grow tent, I suppose. I don't know. Just been informed we have a freezing rain forecast around noon. Well, that's no fun. Happy holidays, Uncle Adam and chat. Weird hobby year. Made some progress, but also haven't picked up a brush in a few months. I'm stuck on a project don't really want to do, but want to finish. Interesting. Good airbrush skill progression is primer, then base coat, then zenithal, then terrain painting, then more detail stuff for specialization. And I've honestly gotten to basically, well, I mean, I do terrain painting with it, but I don't do it any differently than I paint my miniatures. Again, it's more often than not just base coating and stuff like that. I'm not going like, oh, I'm going to paint this, like, you know, this conduit pipe on the outside of my cyberpunk building. I'm going to paint it a different color with my airbrush. Like, no, it would just be like, you know, because I don't use like super fine. I think I have a 0.4 needle or whatever, and that's what I just use all the time. And so, yeah, I don't know. I find that like priming's easy. You start out with just prime and black or whatever, and it works really well. And then the zenithal is honestly the next thing. And the zenithal doesn't always have to be white either. Keep that in mind. If you were painting, let's say, blood angels, I would do your zenithal in red, potentially 2 reds. What I would do is I'd prime black. What I'd really want to do with that particular color combination is I would want to prime dark brown. I want to have the dark brown primer be my undercolor and then do red over the top of it, like a darker red, and then do a highlight red over the top of that. And then at that point, with your Blood Angels type Space Marines, your armor is like 75% done before you even pick up a brush, like a regular brush. So, you know, that's what I would do. Filter then exhaust hose into a bucket or a third full of water if you can't run it out a window. See, I've never, again, if you're using enamels or lacquers, then yes, you either need to blow that stuff out a window or you need to blow it into a bucket with maybe some water or something like that. But if you're just using normal acrylics, you don't have to blow it anywhere. Like I have like this airbrush hood thing. Let's go back to Amazon. Airbrush hood. So I don't remember which one I have. It's probably like this one. This thing costs $120, like I said. And see, I wouldn't think you'd want it to just blow it directly in your face like that. I don't know why they do that. But anyway, yeah, so it folds up, you know, and it comes with a little spinny thing. But I don't use the spinny thing. I have another spinny thing that I bought at I don't know where I bought it, but it's for cakes. And it's like elevated a bit. And I kind of like that one better. But, you know, your mileage may vary. So anyway, there's like a filter in the back there, like kind of like a small like furnace filter. And it's got lights in it, and it, you know, sucks the stuff through and all that, and it blows it out the back. Mine's only got 1 fan instead of 2, so that's kind of cool. But the thing is, it blows it out the back, and you would hook it to a hose normally. They don't show you a good shot of it from the back or anything like that. Anyway, mine is right up against a wall, so the 4-inch or whatever hose port, I don't have a hose plugged to it because I'm not blowing it out the window, and I'm just blowing it against the wall. And it's a white wooden wall. It's not drywall or anything like that. I do all my airbrushing in the old coal bin back in the days when this house was heated by coal. There's like a weird metal trap door out in the driveway that like someone would drive into your driveway and lower that and just pour a bunch of coal into your house, and then you paid them to do that, I guess. Anyway, that's all welded shut and stuff like that. But that's the room that I'm in underneath the stairs. And so the thing that's really interesting is that I assumed that over time I would get like a dark or even a little bit of a gray circle where the exhaust stuff that didn't get caught in the filter would then blow out and hit to the wall. But it's never done that. I've had that hood set up for 3-4 years maybe now. And I every once in a while I like peek over the top and I look at that wall and there's no thing. So again, particulate gets caught quite well in the filter, so you don't have to worry about that. Vapors, however, that's a different story. Fumes, right? But there's no fumes when you're doing acrylic. It's lacquers and enamels, and maybe some other things too, that will cause fumes. And then that is something you do want to blow outside, but or if you can, or into a bucket or whatever, you know, that kind of thing. That can help. But as far as particulate, Yeah, if you just stick to enamels, you never have to vent. In my opinion, you never have to vent your hood thing outside for that. Now, if you decided, hey, I want a rattle can in the house, you could do it with this, but then you would also want to blow that outside because, again, it's the fumes of the propellant to some degree and also the paint that causes the smell. But with acrylic, like the propellant it's an air compressor. It's compressing the air that you already have in the room. So there's no propellant smell because it's compressed air from the room. And the acrylic paints really don't give off any fumes. So, but lacquer and enamel can. So like if you've been following Vince and John, like Ninjon, like they're both really addicted to this. I don't know if it's a lacquer primer or enamel primer. I forget what it is, but it's like this Mr. Surfacer stuff from Japan, and they both think it's amazing. But both of them are like, oh yeah, it's real smelly. Hey, look, there's Nick. Nick was out on a gig, but now he's home. So yeah, that's what that is. I don't know if that helps. Let's see here. Have you had a chance to play the new rules for Star Wars Legion? Not yet. I still got to figure out what I need to add to get to 1,000 points. Said you previously thought that you and your friend for the game store were building your armies. Yeah, we're slow. Good morning from Florida. As much as you love skirmish and thematic gameplay, it's wild you aren't an MCP fan. I don't like the scale, and I don't like the gameplay. Specifically. I think that's the problem. You do an EDM finish on the tool for the details. I'm not sure what that means. Electronic dance music? This morning I'm working on a collage of everything I painted this year. I was more productive than I thought. Nice. Jenny Nicholson. There you go. I knew I was getting somewhere. I am disappointed in myself only finishing 45 models this past year. By June, I noticed a degradation in my visual acuity. Finally got some reading glasses a couple months back. Nice. Greetings from the Netherlands. Good afternoon here. Hope you all have a nice millennium and a good new year. 12C is above 0 is, yeah, I get that. I know that 0 is the freezing point. Just like then it's 32 to us. So I just didn't know what 12 was in comparison. Parted ways with the last of my GW stuff I had since 5th edition. 2026 will be the year of downsizing and getting rid of my pile of shame. I've been thinking a lot about that too lately, about whether I want to take the time to start. I don't know. There's things I could be putting stuff up on eBay, which can be its own problem. I could take a whole bunch of stuff to, I'm fortunate enough to live like a couple hours away from Noble Knight Games, so I could just drive a whole bunch of stuff down there maybe. But I don't know yet. I'm not sure. But I have a lot of, like, I've got a lot of Star Wars Legion stuff that I'm going to end up not using. And I have a lot of GW stuff that I can see myself not using. Like, there's some stuff I'm like, I can use this for something. So I know I'm going to hold on to some things. But there's other things I'm like, nope, don't ever want that. So might do that too. Jenny Nicholson, she made the definitive Star Wars hotel video. Gotcha. Yeah. I've watched some of her things. I haven't watched any of her stuff for a while, but like I said, there was a situation where if you were watching some of her videos, they would auto then go into one of Vince's videos. So he was getting a whole bunch of views for a while. This was last year, I think. Depending on the filament used, you can make a vapor chamber to kind of melt the surface of the model to make it smooth. I've seen that too. I know a lot of like cosplay people have all kinds of crazy things that they do to try to smooth out some of the stuff, but I'm not trying to make things like shiny particularly. Like if you're making like a Iron Man mask that you're 3D printing, yeah, you want it to be as glossy and shiny so it looks like metal. For terrain, yeah. Depending, my youngster just woke up. He is crying. I have to go tend to him. Have a wonderful day. I hope that it wasn't me that woke him up. Try using Durham's Rock Hard Water Putty on 3D prints you want to make look like stone. Water it down, thin it, use a cheap brush. I've heard of water putty. Either Trent has talked about it, or maybe it was Jeremy from Black Magic Craft. I've heard somebody talk of water putty, and I don't know what that is, like in American. You know what I mean? It's not spackle, is it? Saw a video of a cosplayer printer using it on TPU and Aegis flexed with it. Maybe try plaster mixed with bicarb for small texture. A lot cheaper to do that for that sculpture. Yeah, that, like I said, that stuff's expensive. Plaster I'm always wary of. You know what I mean? Because it's just so delicate. Now, if it was like dental plaster, I do have some dental plaster. That's a good point. I hadn't thought of that. Getting some really fine as you can get sand sprinkled on top of freshly primed mini work for statues. The problem is that even then, like sand, yeah, maybe if it was super crazy fine, but it's a good question. For adding fine stone, have you tried baking soda over PVA? I'm gonna stay away from PVA too because it doesn't stick that great to plastic. So no, I haven't done that. But yeah, I stay away from PVA glue because it just doesn't stick to plastic very well. That same glue you peel off your fingers. You know what I mean? So yeah. Fully calibrating to your exact filament goes a long way. Feed rate, temp, pressure, and also use adaptive layering. Yeah, with the Bamboo Lab, it was like literally go, okay, print, and then it printed. And so I haven't had to, I mean, I told it to calibrate itself and it sat there and made a bunch of funny noises for quite some time. And then since then, I haven't really had to do it. What games are you currently playing or hobbying on? So right now I am painting on stream on Twitch. I'm painting Trench Crusade. So I'm working on a Prussian warband from the new plastics, although there are some 3D printed pieces in there as well. I've added in a, oh gosh, what are they? The heavy mechanized infantry. So it's like basically like a big guy in power armor kind of. And I also added a sniper priest as well to that group. So yeah, but otherwise all the rest of the Stas Truppen or whatever, the Prussians are all, those are all plastics from the new kit. And then I'm also currently right now not on stream. I'm working on a group of, I think it's 6 models for Arasaka, which is a corporate team in Cyberpunk Red Combat Zone from Monster Fight Club. So they're the first of those models that I've actually painted. I've built a bunch of them in the past, but these are the first guys that I've actually sat down and painted. I'm not going to lie, partially it's because they're basically black and red and it's kind of easy. Like, you know, I'm not going to go crazy and like edge highlight all the different panels because it makes everything look like crap when you do that. I basically primed them black and then I sprayed a color called Crow Hue from Army Painter Airbrush, which is a dark gray. And I basically did a dark gray zenithal over black. And then they looked gray. And then I did a dry brush of either deep gray or uniform gray. And I think it might have been uniform gray. And I did a dry brush of that, which then did pop up some of the details a bit more. And then I slopped dark tone wash on everything, which darkens everything back down again. But now it's still like, it's not black. It's definitely heading into the black direction and it looks black, but it's not black. You know what I mean? So now I've gone through and I've used Grim Black, which is a black speed paint, and I've painted the guns all black. And now I'm going to go through and dry brush them. But then they also have the little Arasaka symbol on their, like, you know, uniforms and stuff like that, which is red. So I've gone through and I've used fiery vermilion on that to pop those and everything. So they're going to be super quick paint jobs because, again, they're basically black and red, but I'll pick out some details here and there. But I'm kind of doing my normal sort of like military painting thing where like everything's kind of the same color because that, you know, on purpose. It's the same like with like Blackout with that game. Those models I find really super fast to paint because they're predominantly all kind of one color. You just go through and use washes to differentiate between like webbing and, you know, fatigues and the, you know, belt and stuff like that, but they're all kind of khaki or whatever color you pick, you know. Excuse me. Goodness, I apologize. I have no ads by streaming YouTube on Chrome with the Pi ad blocker extension. Heading over my last paint and take of the year here shortly, hoping for a decent turnout with everyone making holiday weekends. Nice. No money coming in for some weeks. Main computer needs rebuild. Should get me wash and cure. Not sure what to do. I was up too early today, so I'd be able to turn up for at least some of this, but I'm drifting. Well, I understand. Ever consider streaming your cyberpunk play, tabletop game or video game? It would be easier to do the video game by a whole bunch, but not really. No, I haven't. I'm pretty far through. I'm pretty far through a. What am I running? I'm running Nomad. No, Street Kid. Because you can, when you start the game, you can choose to be a street kid or come from a street kid background, come from a nomad background, or come from a corpo background. And I've played nomad and street kid now, and I don't think I've done a corpo one ever. So I'm getting close to the end to some degree. I've actually technically already done one of the ends, and then at the end of it, they're like, "Hey, do you want to go back and redo that a little bit? If you know, you know." And so yeah, I'm thinking about starting over again, but it's just an amazing thing to just drive around in game and just look at buildings and stuff like that. It's like, again, I'm taking a lot of inspiration from it. It's just really cool. Currently printing out a cyberpunk city and adding lighting and everything. Ordered some of the Monster Fight Club minis for it. Nice. Very cool. The, where is it? No, no, no. Here, there we go. So, Corvus Games Terrain did a Kickstarter last month or whatever for this new set of printable cyberpunk stuff. And I backed the Kickstarter and I was like, but it's all done already. I don't understand why you gotta have a Kickstarter, but it's marketing, whatever. So I think I paid $47 roughly for this entire package, and it's $60 now if you didn't do it on the Kickstarter, I guess. But I'm wondering if any of this stuff is sold separately. I'm not 100% sure, but it's all cyberpunk kind of. It's a little bit more Asian oriented. You've got a temple-y thing and stuff like that, but there's a lot of stuff in there. There's a lot of scatter terrain. There's a lot of all kinds of cool stuff. It comes with a whole bunch of printable signs that you can make to put into your billboards and things like that if you don't want to make your own. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I am currently printing it's the 808 Club. No. But there's also risers, so you can have multi-level and stuff like that. There's walkways and lots and lots of little ad things and little HVAC units to put on top of stuff and whatnot. Where are the separate buildings? Is this what I'm printing? Yes. So this is what I'm printing currently. The first floor and the second floor are done. I just need to do the roof. And then there's little signage and stuff like that. So that'll be fun too. I'm looking forward to that. But there's all kinds of different types of buildings and there's a little food vendor thing and whatever. These look like they were pretty quickly painted, but they're still, they're you can tell definitely this is a cool looking thing. This is more of a, I don't know, maybe a hotel or something like that. There's just lots of neat buildings, but Corvus has got cool stuff already. I've been printing a bunch of their stuff in the past anyway. But this is their newest stuff. So I've been, pretty interested in it. Again, you get noodle stand, with solar panels and there's all kinds of crazy stuff. And again, walkways and risers and all kinds of extra, scatter terrain and this type of stuff and crates and all that jazz. So that's very cool. Even objective markers down here too. So yeah. And I've had great luck printing it. I've only, like I said, printed one building. I'm not completely finished yet. I got to probably print the roof this afternoon. I'll probably have that going while I'm editing. But yeah, it's cool stuff. And I'm looking forward to starting to paint it. That's the thing is I'm having I'm having a little bit of analysis paralysis to some degree on that because I'm like driving around in Night City in in the cyberpunk video game and looking at how they paint their buildings, but then I'm also looking at like regular buildings in the real world, and I'm just like, buildings are generally gray, sometimes brown. That's pretty much about it. But like, so I don't want to go crazy and make these super multicolored crazy buildings, but I do want to have some color in them as well. So yeah, I don't know. Trying to figure it out. My approach for this year is to finish paused projects, but only buy what I need to complete them. That's a smart move. That's a smart move. Build what isn't built, paint what is already built. There you go. Isn't the Cyberpunk Forbidden Psalm on 2x2? Kill sample process? Yeah, it's true. That is true. It is. Yeah. That's a good point. Yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. Kill sample process is. I've forgotten a little bit about that. I'm looking for something like, I don't know, like I love cyberpunk stuff these days. I'm really kind of into that as a vibe. But I don't know, like there's a part of me that also wants to make it like not quite, like I don't want as much cyberware for some strange reason. I don't know why. It's kind of strange, but I'm not sure. But yes, kill sample process is a good point as well. I hadn't thought about that. If you're looking for cyberpunk, check out the skirmish game called, yep, I already have that one, yep. You should check out Wylock's Neon Skies builds for some cyberpunk inspiration. I just watched a video he did yesterday. What was it about? Oh, it was about how he's realized he likes to paint, like painting basically less is more kind of a situation. Yeah, I watched that video. That was good. I took stock and wondered why gamers have a backlog of projects, decided that I needed to spend less and do more. I think that a lot of the time, the reason that we, as especially these days, that many of us have so many back projects is because we've been trained that if you don't get it now, you won't be able to get it. Oh, no, I'm sorry. And which is stupid. We shouldn't have to, that shouldn't be a problem. The problem is that especially some of the bigger companies, one of them that rhymes with Games Workshop, they are all about the new. And yet you're like, yeah, that's cool. All right, so I've started to build this, army based off of this new stuff that you put out, but I need to add these things to that army that I can't seem to get them in stock. And they're like, well, they're not new. And I'm like, yeah, but so I can't get rhinos currently? And they're like, well, and that seems to be the thing. So rather than making stuff and keeping it in stock, they're just this constant like rolling downhill, new thing, but there's nothing behind. It's like the idea of like laying track in front of the speeding train, you know what I mean? But then it's collapsing behind you because it's not attached properly or whatever. I don't know. So to be perfectly frank, 3D printing gets rid of that. Like print on demand books and print on demand 3D printing stuff, you can be like, oh, I'll buy that when I need it. Or even if you buy it now, then you keep it on a hard drive. You're like, oh, here's my backlog. You know what I mean? Like until you actually print the stuff when you need it, that's a different story. So I'm hoping that does help. But I think that because the hobby is still so attached to plastics and physical models, I'm hoping that companies like Trench Crusade I hope that they keep stuff in stock better and they don't get into that kind of FOMO. Oh gosh, if you don't buy it when it comes out, you're not going to get it, because then that's why people end up overbuying and then having a pile of stuff in their house that they're like, well, why did I buy all this? Oh, because it was going to disappear otherwise and then I wouldn't get it. And it trains your lizard brain to like react to that. So hopefully we can get around that. We'll see how it goes. I think part of it is just honestly just ignoring the big guys to some degree and sticking with indie stuff. Then you're more likely to, not have to do that as much. But, I've done all this in the background and decided to focus more on the nerdy side of myself. I mean, that's important, I think. Had a few games lined up, forced me to paint things to a tabletop standard instead of going super hard on every model. Yeah, that's also a big deal too. Like I'm not going super hard on these Arasaka guys, but then frankly, they're not the greatest of all possible sculpts either, Like they're done in COcast, and I feel like COcast is like, do you like metal models? Well, what if they were made out of plastic? You know what I mean? Like they're not like the mold quality, like they're good sculpts. Just the mold quality's not awesome, right? You know, but that's how it works. That's because they were able to make those miniatures in-house. Like those, like Monster Fight Club owns 3 or 4, I think, of those COCast machines. And so those models are produced in wherever they are, Pennsylvania, maybe Virginia. I don't know. They're somewhere in the East. And so they produce them right there in-house. They're not like shipping those things out to China to get made and then shipped back across the ocean and all that kind of stuff. And I appreciate that. Now, the quality is not super crazy high end, admittedly, but you know, they're also made locally, which I also kind of like. And so when they're not the most amazing potential models, then I also don't necessarily feel like I have to do the amazing paint job as much. And also, again, I'm not trying to win an award. I'm trying to play games. So I think there's a benefit to having that mindset. My library had a replicator 3D printer that was trash with my OG Makerspace, a sewing machine. Ooh. Hobby goal for 2026 is to actually start finishing armies. I need to finish my lizards, my space lizards. I kind of took a break with them from them and started working in the Trench Crusade stuff on stream, but otherwise I've been working on lizards. I need to get back into the lizards. I need to get the next group of like, say, 10 of them ready to paint. So that when I'm done with the Trench Crusade guys, I can switch back to Splizzards. Reverse tweezers are awesome for weathering sponges. Did I make that up? Is reverse I never saw them called that, but when I typed in reverse tweezers into Amazon, that's what I found. It sounds like reverse tweezers. My online friend and fellow terrain creator Kathy Millett does some amazing stuff. Her, myself, and some others have been using Gridforge, that second Dynasty made. I've not heard of Gridforge. That's interesting. Learn to use my airbrush is my 2026 goal. I got a compressor coming. Nice. Terrain tour would be awesome. Nice. I've been happily filament printing with my Bamboo A1 for a while now. I was gifted an Elegumars 5 Ultra for Christmas, so I guess I'm getting into resin. Well, algorithm is dumb. I agree. I'll start putting "boo, you suck" in the comments just to juice Al Gore's rhythm. There you go. This December, a mate and me independently got reinterested in medieval stuff, so we're doing Baron's War. I want to take a look at that. Even though I'm not super into fantasy stuff lately, I keep hearing people talk, or not Baron's War, no, the other one. Something about Trader's Troll, something like that. I keep hearing about that one, and I should check that one out. What size needle? I think it's like a 0.4 or whatever. It's whatever came with it. I found a side-mounted color cup more convenient than the top-mounted integral cup. Huh. Iwata Eclipse is the easiest, best to use, and I own a few Harder and Steenbeck airbrushes. I bought an Iwata Neo in late 2023 because parts to get my HP SB were about the same price. Interesting. Harbor Freight. Yeah, I haven't been there in a long time, but it's a good place. Can I use my air compressor for my nail gun? I mean, to be perfectly honest with you, when I first got my airbrush, I bought a red pancake compressor from the place, from Menards, which is a big, it's like Home Depot, but just for the Midwest. And it was loud, but it was also only $60 and it worked great. I had to buy a regulator just to attach that to it. And it worked until it didn't. And then I bought a regular airbrush compressor, and that thing's worked now for, like I said, nearly a decade. Well, maybe 8 years. All right, folks. Are you doing another TMX Expo? Yep, I am. The date is June 13th and 14th, 2026. It's been updated on the website, but the logo hasn't. So the logo still says 2025. But if you actually look at the text on the website, it says 2026. And I'm going to be refreshing the website so people can start putting in events and things like that in January. So this upcoming month. So yeah, that is definitely happening. It's instead of being the first weekend in January or June, it's the second weekend in June because there was a wedding. So I didn't get there in time. All right, folks. Well, thanks for coming and hanging out. I appreciate it. I hope that you folks, again, hope you had happy holidays if you're into that, and I hope you have a good new year if you're into celebrating that. I think my wife and I have a bottle of champagne that was given to us when we facilitated selling my mom's condo for some reason. They were like, "Hey, you want a bottle of champagne?" And we were like, "Is it free?" And they're like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Okay." So that was the title company or whatever. I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, maybe we'll have that. And like I said, we're gonna have some friends over. We'll see how that goes. And then it's just getting back to work. You know what I mean? Getting back to doing things and getting back to hobby, getting back to a lot of different things and all that. So I will talk to you folks again soon. I'll be back here in 2 weeks. I'm not traveling really anywhere until probably actually Adepticon, as far as I can tell. So, probably won't be messing up the schedule too much. So that'll be good. But we'll see you folks again soon. Thanks for everybody who came by and hung out. If you get the chance, do some hobby, that's fun. And if you don't get the chance, don't beat yourself up about it. It's okay. We'll see you folks again soon, and stay safe. And thanks for watching.